Okay, y'all, it's background time. So whether you're working from a printed photograph or if you're working directly from your screen, we still need to anchor this skull. And we're gonna do that by providing it a space to be in so that our bob's not floating away, as well as anchoring it with the cast shadow. So we can see in our background that we have darker value kind of going to a lighter value because of the light source that we had shining on the back edge of the skull here, okay? So we're gonna recreate that. So I want us to start left-hand side of our paper. We're going to use a firmer pressure. And I'm going to say firm. It's not the heaviest, right? Our darkest values are kind of in the skull itself and the cast shadow. So this is firm. Firm middle, I guess you could say. And really rotate. You want to try to keep that pencil pressure even again. You're bringing the background right up to the edge of the skull. Don't worry about it blending in yet, because we're going to put in that really dark cast shadow. Don't outline. Remember, we never ever outline when we're doing really realistic drawing. We'll change and adjust our values of the skull and our background to make it work. You are going to find you end up sharpening your pencil a lot when we're doing background work. Okay, so I'm going to pause here for a minute, do some background, so you're not watching me shade for a whole like 20 minutes. And then we'll pick back up with doing some smudging and put the cast shadow in. Okay, so now our background is blended. I'm kicking myself. I got some fingerprints in there, so mind your fingers. Pencil-y fingers. But it's okay. Those things happen. So now the last thing we want to do is we really want to anchor this this skull to the picture frame. And so we're of course going to do that by giving our skull its final spit and polish with a cast shadow. So now we're going to go back to that firmest, darkest value we can make. And you can either, sketch out the contour shadow, a contour outline, blah, 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 of the shadow shape first, or you can kind of like free form shade it as you go and kind of build it out. I'm gonna sketch out the shape of it first. And at this point, it's really important that you grab yourself a spare blob of tissue or something else. And now I know my photo actually goes off the paper here, so I'm just gonna kind of round that out and finish it off. Oh, and this is actually a little bit lower down, so it actually kind of stretches further this way, it looks like. Okay, so we'll blend that line into the background. Oop. Okay, and now really heavy pencil pressure. Press as hard as you can, going back to like the pressure we did in the eye socket, and just make sure you're using a shade guard. You don't want to smudge over all your gorgeous shading work. Now, if you happen to have something like an ebony pencil like this, terrific, you can get really, really dark value. But like I said, we're working with what we got at home, and so if that's just a regular number 2, that's just a regular number 2. No worries. And then I always like to rotate my paper so my hand's in the most comfortable shading position. That way my hand doesn't get fatigued and I can actually draw a bit longer. All right, so this is why we didn't go for absolute darkest value for our background, because we really did still need that deepest, darkest value for the cast shadow. And you can see how that really does start to anchor it to the picture. Again, no halos at all. Bring that shading right up to the edge of the skull. No outlining, right? We're relying just on beautiful value and changes in those values, subtle changes in those values. to show where like the skull ends and the background begins. Whew. Now my hand's starting to get tired. Quick sharpen. Oh, and all of a sudden it got sunny out. Jeez. Okay, you get the idea. I'm going to take a minute to finish shading in this shadow and blend, and then we'll look at our final picture together. All right, and here we are. This is the finished skull drawing. So the last thing I'd like you to do is make sure you've blended any remaining areas that you want blended. You know, if there's, you know, more work you want to do to try to even out your background, like I might take some time to try to even out my pencil a little bit more in my background, try to get rid of some of these pencily strokes, right? But so far, a beautifully finished skull. Here we go. So let's take a look at just the drawing. Ooh, hold it so that I'm not getting that really harsh glare from my kitchen lights. Okay, the photograph. Not too shabby. All right, finally, this is a drawing that we worked really, really hard on, so it deserves an artist signature. So make sure to sign, give it a date, your name on the back as well. Remember, you always write, you know, 1A or 2B or 4B, whatever your class happens to be. And, you know, I always write my sample on there. Okay, and thank you for joining me for our draw along with the skull. All right, take care, everyone. I'll see you soon again in the art room.